Welcome to the Middle East North Africa Information Security Conference 2021. This year's theme is cybersecurity vigilance, continuous monitoring and mitigation, understanding the impact in a 5G era.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the 9th edition of MENA Information Security Conference. This year's theme is cyber vigilance, continuous monitoring and mitigation in a 5G era. My name is Samir Omar. I'm the CEO and Chief Strategy Advisor for Security at VirtuPort. Thank you all for joining us this morning. The promise of 5G gives us great optimism with artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, just to start off with. Whether we're talking about the medical industry and having the ability to do telemedicine, telesurgery, whether we're talking about the automotive industry and having a more greener world with electronic vehicles and self-driving cars for better efficiency, whether we're talking about drones and the ability to deliver medical supplies or even commercial goods, a new world and a new optimism is looking forward for us in the future. Not only is the 5G going to have us great promise of interconnectivity to all devices, Gartner estimates by this year we'll have 25,000 different devices in the Internet of Things. We'll also have a doubling increase in the next 5 years of mobile users. The current mobile user count right now is 4 billion users. We are heading to, by 2025, having 8 billion users online connecting to this new world. Whether it's through 5G or Elon Musk's satellites, internet connectivity is going to be allowed across the world. I want to start off my brief by talking about a cybersecurity movie, one of the first movies that actually introduced hacking and a hacker to us. The movie's name was War Games in 1983. And the movie showed a hacker who was played by Matthew Broderick being able to use a tool at that time called a war dialer, trying to gain entry into a gaming system. But what he did trip on was actually a defense system where he was able to get in and almost start a world war. 1983, June 4th, President Ronald Reagan at his Camp David location, as he always does on a Saturday evening, watches a movie. And it happens to be War Games, the movie. And he was very intrigued by this movie. So he went to his next cabinet meeting that Wednesday and sat down. And before he pulled out his index cards to go over the top priorities, he stopped and he asked his cabinet meeting, has anyone seen the movie War Games? And many people looked around and not many people had seen the movie yet. So the president goes into this intricate description of the plot. And at that point, he turns over and he looks at his General Security of Staff, John Wesley, and asks him, could this happen? Is this a reality for us? The general said, I'll get back to you in a week with that answer. When the general came back, he said, this is worse than we think. Yes, this could happen. And this led to the first cybersecurity policy presidential directive by President Ronald Reagan to enable computer security and information security as a policy and as a law. So we fast forward 37 years in the real world to December 2020, the SolarWinds hack, a Texas-based company that was infiltrated by a foreign national agency coming out of Russia. This had great implications. Over 18,000 customers impacted across the globe, as well as across telecommunications, government, and commerce. This is probably one of the worst cybersecurity breaches in the last century. This is also one of that's known as a supply chain attack and had detrimental impact across many corporations and was discovered only recently after 8 months of the intruder being and living in the network. Following the SolarWinds attack, we had another nation-state attack, the Microsoft Exchange server attack. This impacted over 30,000 customers worldwide. This left an impact that had remote code execution, backdoors, malware execution, data theft. It was an incredible impact across the world for all Exchange users. So what did we learn from these attacks? One of the things we learned was we have to secure our code supply chain, and we have to have better best practices and security controls of how code is released. We also learned that we have to have better testing on those code releases that come from third parties and that supply chain. A great document that just came out in April 2021 was from the National Institute of Standards and Technology, labeled Defending Against Software Supply Chain Attacks. The NIST standard is a great approach tactically on how to address the problem, but I want to look at it at a strategic view of how we can deal with these type of nation-state attacks, cyber espionage. We know that the attacker has the advantage. Why? The attacker, number one, is more maneuverable. They know where to attack us, when they want to attack us, and where to attack us from. This gives them a lot of flexibility in being able to dynamically plan their attacks. They're also very dynamic from the perspective of they can continuously try their attacks without being caught. And what I mean is, for example, let's say they have a malware that they want to attack us with. They continuously can test different types of known antivirus softwares and refine their attack and then find a zero-day exploit, for example. This is a very difficult strategy to fight against when your enemy is more dynamic, also more maneuverable. So we have to look at strategy from a cybersecurity perspective where we're not static and we're not passive. This is where I would like to introduce cyber counterintelligence. One of the challenges of cyber counterintelligence is the sheer amount of volume and velocity of the alert logs that we get in our Enterprise Security Operations Center, namely our SIM. Now, the challenge with this is, yes, it's true there are a lot of false positives, but there are also true positives that we miss. Part of the challenge is we don't have enough personnel to watch all those logs, and also we don't have the right artificial intelligence and machine learning helping us sift through these logs. But again, this is still a static and a passive way to do cybersecurity, which is waiting to be attacked. What I would propose is cyber counterintelligence is more of a philosophy, a methodology, where we're more dynamic in our security, that brings more security awareness, attacker detection, and making defense dynamic. What it's not is attacker hackback or entrapment, which are both illegal. I'd propose that the attacks that happen against nation states against one another is the new counter cybersecurity strategy that you have to employ as a philosophy in your organization. Just like a nation state has to protect its healthcare systems, its industrial systems, its defense systems, its secrets, its sensitive data, now as a corporate organization, you need to take on this same posture. And the way you do that with cyber counterintelligence is you have to be able to have the right methodology and capabilities that I'm going to go over to do this. I would propose the overall cybersecurity strategy needs to change to be more like nation-state cyber counterintelligence, where you are just like a nation-state that wants to protect its healthcare systems, its industrial systems, its commercial commerce systems, its defense systems, and its trade secrets. You have to take this philosophy on within your own corporation. Don't worry. Most of us have already begun taking on these methodologies. Zero Trust is a great methodology that's also now becoming a tactical strategy in employing least privilege model as well as data loss prevention. Other methodologies also that help us take a cyber counterintelligence strategy philosophy into effect. So there are three main categories in cyber counterintelligence. One of them is collective, the second is offensive, the other one is defensive. So from a collective perspective, you want to know more about the adversary. Where are they coming from? What are they trying to steal? What have they done so far in our network without them noticing? From a defensive perspective, that goes back to employing zero trust, deploying data loss prevention technologies on all layers of the stack, not just the network or the endpoint, and also by employing least privilege model. From an offensive perspective, you want to take this information and use it as an advantage for you, and use this information to know more about what the hacker is trying to do. We then take our collective offensive and defensive information and turn it into a sting operation. Now, sting stands for, at VirtuPort, our new methodologies: security, tangible, intelligence, networks, gathering. So what is a sting? A sting in law enforcement is used as a deceptive technology to be able to capture a crime while it's being committed by the adversary. Typically, sting operations have law enforcement, have assistance from the detectives, as well as the public security officers, to be able to create an environment where the criminal thinks he has an objective that he has reached, but catch them in the act and also be able to prosecute him. The cybersecurity kill chain is a great way to look at how these adversaries are taking certain paths to their objectives or their goals throughout the process of the hacking. So it's important that we revise and look at our cyber counterintelligence and quickly quantify our cybersecurity direction into where the hacker is in the cybersecurity kill chain, whether it's recon, whether it's weaponizing, delivering, installing, command control, and action to objective. So let's look at a sting operation in the cybersecurity world and how that would work. For example, we're going to look at advanced persistent threats, APTs. Let's say there's an advanced persistent threat of a hacker coming in, trying to scan for users that they can escalate privileges to, or scan to find new computers or computers that are vulnerable on the network. In a sting operation, we'd create fake networks, fake users. Another advanced persistent threat, an APT looking in for sensitive data and trying to steal the crown jewels of the corporation. Well, let's create fake data or fake sensitive data so that they can take the wrong data and we can capture them. Another advanced persistent threat may be somebody trying to find a new entry point through our network. Typically with an advanced persistent threat like that, that would be protected by firewalls, intrusion detection, intrusion prevention devices. But what if we created a fake entry point? Another APT, an adversary coming in and looking for a bot network that currently exists on our network. Why don't we create a fake bot network and have them try to access that and capture them there? Another advanced persistent threat, an APT coming in to find an entry point in our network. Now typically this would be covered by our firewalls, intrusion prevention, or intrusion detection devices. But what if we created a fake entry point and captured the adversary there? Another APT, looking for current bot networks that are currently existing in our networks. That typically is handled by anti-spam or antivirus software. Why don't we create a fake bot network for them to come in and be tricked by that? It may be domain password hacking or attacking using pass the hash. Why don't we create a fake domain admin account and have the adversary access that? That's definitely a trigger for us to know somebody's in. Another one is access to the network attack through an APT, typically covered by DMZs, network virtualization or segmentation. Why don't we create fake entire networks and fake entire segments where they can come in and begin to do tripwires across our networks where we can capture them, or create tar pits or sand to be able to slow them down. Cyber counterintelligence also requires continuous monitoring. You have to be able to see what you're protecting if you want to protect it. You can't protect what you can't see. And so that means being able to monitor continuously endpoints, data in motion, data in transit, data exfiltration, your DNS, your Active Directory. You have to be able to monitor all of it continuously. Some of your ultimate goals in cyber counterintelligence is you want to slow down the adversary. You want to detect them. You want to decoy them. You want to degrade them. You want to destroy them. You want to deceive them. You want to make defense more dynamic. You want to be more maneuverable in your cybersecurity strategy. And that way you'll be able to adhere to some of the biggest challenges that you're going to be facing in the future from nation-state attacks. In order to have an effective cyber counterintelligence methodology and philosophy, you have to have the right skilled people trained to be able to do this. So we have to take a step back and look at how are we doing cybersecurity training today. A lot of it is more of an academy type of fashion of a lecturer on a PowerPoint slide, maybe a few labs, long hours, 40-hour weeks, you go to boot camp for 5 days, and then you come back and you're expected to employ this all in a security operations center. This is not a very tangible strategy to really be able to give you an effective way to train your people. So we have to look at cybersecurity training in a different methodology and a different philosophy as well. Things like hands-on access, hands-on labs, hands-on cyber ranges, really going beyond capture the flag and hackathons to more of a SOC-a-thon type of approach, where SOC teams are battling each other out to really find an effective way to become better cyber counterintelligence people. Think about it from a police academy perspective. When we're training our police officers or law enforcement, we don't just sit them in a classroom to learn about what the law is and what they're supposed to and not to do. What we do is we send them to a shooting range where they practice against a target and they begin to get better at shooting. We also put them through drills, whether it's special ops drills, SWAT drills. We give them certain scenarios that they have to face and able to deal with the criminals and the activities that they face. So it really is going beyond the academy and more on hands-on to be able to give effective cybersecurity counterintelligence. So cyber ranges is one of those ways that we can get our people, our technical staff, to be more like cyber troopers. And that's one of the VirtuPort training methodologies we have is the Cyber Trooper program, where we take people who are good cybersecurity folks or beginners and turn them into cyber troopers. And the way we do that is we put them through simulation drills, simulation attacks, where we inject the latest and greatest adversary APTs that are coming at us to give them a feel of how it feels to be like in a cyber war, or how it feels like to be in a cyber battle or being hacked. Beyond the academy is where we're looking to help improve cybersecurity technical skills. Another example in the real world is airplane pilots who are trained also in an academy. But all airplane pilots have to go through what's known as an airplane simulation software. And they have to book a certain amount of hundreds of hours to be able to be certified that they've done enough simulation practical work on the aircraft that they're flying and the type of aircraft that they're flying and the instruments that they're using to become better equipped with the ability to be a better pilot. It's the same thing with our cybersecurity training. We need to put them through a simulation where they have the different types of attacks, different types of threats, different types of intelligence coming at them, that they have to correlate all this data. And it doesn't hurt to make it more in like a game or a gamification of cybersecurity training. Let's take cybersecurity training one step further. You have to future-proof the training. What does that mean? Well, there's new attacks happening continuously. daily on an impactful level. So how do you get your cybersecurity training to be that way where it can be effective not just today, but also tomorrow? The way you do that is you have to be able to customize the training, create scenarios that are new, inject new types of attacks, therefore future-proofing your cybersecurity training. And I'm going to leave you this quote from Machiavelli's 27 Rules of War. Whoever is more vigilant in observing the designs of the enemy in war and endures much hardship in training his army will incur fewer dangers and have greater hope for victory.
Now, to thank our sponsors who have dedicated resources, time, energy, and money to bring you the premier information security conference, the MENA region. Special thanks to our diamond sponsors. Thank you to our platinum sponsors. This year's conference will have delegates across the Middle East and North African region from the countries Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Oman, Egypt, Jordan, Qatar, Kuwait, and more. Post-conference activities continue through the year with one-on-one meetings with the experts. Also, half-day workshop roundtables in the fall of 2021 for personalized training and roundtable discussions for deep-dive business and technical discussions. A special thank you and appreciation to our keynote speakers. This year's conference will have global top cybersecurity thought leaders, including Chief Executive Officers, Chief Information Officers, Chief Information Security Officers, and more to give you the vision and strategic advantage to address today and tomorrow's elevated cyber challenges. A thank you to our thought leadership speakers. This year's conference will have global top cybersecurity technical expertise as well, giving you a tactical and strategic advantage to address today and tomorrow's increased cyber challenges. Make sure to attend both days, May 25th and 26th of the conference, to earn you 16 continuing professional education CPE credits.